Is it time to return to The Division 2? Well, maybe. Recently we've just had the newest season Vanguard drop, and it comes with a lot of changes. Not just to gear and weapons, but to the entire game itself. Let's start by talking about the new season. Vanguard takes us back to New York, pursuing Agent Kelso, to see what she's been up to while we've been dealing with the crisis in Washington DC. And coming off the back of Agent Johnson being the recruiter, people are feeling a little bit suspicious. With this new story beat also comes a lot of new gear and weapons. We have the Aegis gear set, which comes with an LMB style and logos, a new pair of exotic gloves that give stability and weapon handling, very niche, I'm sure there are a few people out there who'll enjoy these, a new exotic pistol called the Mosquito, something that I'm really excited about. This to me is the first real tank item they've put in the game. The Mosquito essentially builds up stacks as you shoot an enemy, and at 10 stacks, that enemy will be forced to look at the person who dealt the 10th stack. This is pretty cool. It means you can load up on armor cores, take your bulwark shield, take the Mosquito pistol, and you can be the real tank of the group, drawing attention, letting everybody else do the DPS. I really like this. I'm excited to see this in the game. We also have the new Vindicator exotic rifle. This is exclusive to Descent. You earn the NSA tech in the Descent, then when you come out, you can buy it from the NSA store. This is pretty cool. It gives us some more things to grind for. There's also some outfits that have been added to this store too, so you actually have a reason to get in and play some Descent. Now, we have the new story beat taking us back to New York, we have the new gear and weapons, but the big changes here come with Project Resolve. This was a massive overhaul of a lot of different systems in the game. There's massive buffs to weapons, there's massive buffs to the 2 and 3 piece brand set bonuses, there's changes to PvP, there is so much in Project Resolve. Starting, there's some stability fixes, hopefully this will make the game run a bit smoother. For PvP, they've increased the loot pool of the cache, they've increased the amount of caches you earn, they've increased the quality of the loot from those caches, you get a ton more XP. They've actually removed Shade and Expertise bonuses from Conflict, leveling the playing field, making it so the people who've been playing for longer won't be overpowering new players. They've nerfed status effects and also added some counterplay for status effects as they are. Little things like standing still to stem bleeding or rolling to lessen the effect of a burn. There is a huge amount of changes that have gone into the status effects. The St. Elmo shock mag has been nerfed. I know nerfs usually sound bad, but people wanted to see this. Essentially, instead of getting a 100% mag of shock rounds, in PvP only, St. Elmo's will only get a 50% mag of shock rounds, halving the amount of rounds they have. Personally, I still think this is a little rough on PvP, having people just run around with shock rounds. But whatever, halving the mag is better than just leaving them running around with 70 shock rounds. The Dark Zone has seen some changes, with things like the rogue timer in the non-invaded Dark Zones being changed to a 3-second activation. This is just to give the non-rogues a bit of counterplay and a bit of time to react. I don't really have a problem with this. If you still want that fast rogue timer, you still have that in the invaded Dark Zone. Like I said earlier, almost every weapon has had a buff. I'm not kidding. We've seen damage buffs, RPM buffs, there is so much. I can't go over everything in this video, but things like the F2000, that's had a buff to the mag size and the damage. Pretty much every LMG has had about a 20% weapon damage increase, which is huge. I've always wanted to try and play around with some LMG builds, however, they've just never been worth it. Now it might be worth going back and revisiting some of those old guns. A lot of the marksman rifles have had buffs to try and bring them in line with some of the top performers. We've also got a brand new tinkering menu. This one is going to take a while to get used to. When the new season went live, I actually jumped in game, had a play around, and I was still going back to the base of operations to hand in my expertise loot and deconstruct things. Not anymore. Now, when you're out in the open world, you can open the tinkering menu. This will let you optimize, recalibrate, or change your expertise on the fly in the open world or in a mission. You can do it anywhere. There is literally no longer a reason to go back to the base of operations unless you want to sell some stuff. This is a great change for people who want to go out farming. Pretty much the only reason I go back to the boo at the moment is to donate to my expertise. Now I can do that as soon as I finished a control point or a mission. On top of all this, projects have finally been buffed. In my opinion, it's still not quite enough, but we have seen the rewards buffed in projects. That means we're getting exotic components, we're getting recalibration caches, we're just getting more loot from these in general. So they might be worth doing now, but I still think they need to revisit it. Maybe look at either lowering the amount of activities to complete a project, or just upping the loot that little bit more. Pretty much every global event has also been buffed. The goal here was to try and make them all as fun as Golden Bullet. And it sounds like they might have done. I mean, I've not tried any of them yet, but I'm looking forward to it. Things like Reanimation has now had its explosion radius tripled. Hollywood has had its explosion size tripled, and in Guardian you can now damage the non-Guardian targets, which is great because that was just a bit of a pain, to be honest. If you're still grinding out expertise, the materials needed has now been reduced. I believe this is both when you donate and when you're trying to upgrade, but I'm not too sure. It's definitely when you upgrade, but I will have to do some testing to see if it's cheaper to actually upgrade your expertise level. Either way, still a great change. Descent has also had a lot of changes. The time to get to Nemesis has been reduced. I personally have mixed feelings about this, because it means we will get to Nemesis with less talents, so we'll be less powerful. But we'll have to see how that plays out. Like I said earlier, there's been a lot of changes to the NSA store, adding 4 different costumes you can buy, the same costume in 4 different colors, a brand new exotic, plus a load of caches you can buy as well. So this NSA tech no longer just gives you little upgrades for in Descent mode, but has a real knock-on to the rest of the game, which is a great change. Skill mods have been completely overhauled the way they work. So before, just like a gear mod, you just have a collection of different skill mods. However, now you'll find you only have one of each skill mod. And every time you pick up an upgrade, it'll just get overridden. So you'll no longer carry multiples of the same skill mod. It's simply one attribute that gets upgraded in your inventory, saving you a ton of mod space. I like this, but if we pick up a mod that is lower than what we have, what happens to it? Does it automatically get deconstructed, or will we just have to be conscious and deconstruct them ourselves? Again, something to play around with. We'll have to see the more we play. Next is a weird one, and something I was kind of for, but at the same time, it almost feels pointless. We now have an instant use armor kit in the Division 2. However, you only get 25% of your armor for that kit. It uses up one regular kit. Instead of holding down the button as you would usually, you double tap it and it instant uses for 25%. Now, this is great with the idea of counterplate in mind, but 25%, it's actually quicker to lose 25% of your armor than it is to double tap a button. So I thought this should be higher. I really wanted to see this go to 50%. I just think by the time you've actually applied that armor kit, that 25% armor will be gone. It's just stripped. It's really not that much. So I'd love to see and try this at 50%, but for now, it's a pretty big change, and I'm just happy to see things like this coming into the game. We have more commendations coming. They've already been added to Paradise Lost, and they've said there are a lot more coming in the future. Again, this is great. I love my commendations. They are resetting a lot of the leaderboards. So if you want your chance to climb the leaderboards, now is the time. They did say this will be happening more often, maybe on some kind of rotation. I think this is a great idea. For a while now, the top of the leaderboards have been dominated by people who may have got there through dubious means, so it's nice to see them wiped and give genuine players a chance to get to the top. Now, a big one I'm pretty excited about, we are getting a textiles vendor. He sells exotic caches, named caches, and optimization caches, but at a limited stock. He's a little bit like Cassie, where you have to go out and find him, but again, I'm really happy to hear this. I have so many textiles and nothing to spend them on. They've just been building up literally in the tens of thousands. So this is a great change. I hope they increase the amount of stock he has, so we can buy maybe 5 of these a week? I don't know. We'll have to see. As you can see, there's a lot that's come to the game over the last few days. I mean, a lot. With the new story, we've got tons of new gear and weapons, we've had loads of changes with Project Resolve, and there's a bit of a cherry on top. In the in-game store, they're going to start releasing the rogues from Warlords of New York as outfits, which is pretty cool. You'll be able to get Kajika, you'll be able to get the rest of Keena's crew, including Keena. Yes, I know these will be in-game store items, but I'm okay with that. The only thing I'm dreading is I do think they will be outfits, not individual pieces. I think it'll be a one-piece costume, but again, I'm okay with that. It kind of worked with the recruiter, so we'll have to see in the future. So how does all of this sound to you? Is it worth returning to the Division 2? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe so you don't miss any future content. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can do so over on Patreon or become my first ever channel member. You'll find the link for those in the description below. Have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one.